In a previous video, I've already showed how to make this folio, and today I'm going to show you another project that I'm going to make with the leftovers of the love notes. And after that, I'm going to show you what I have left from the paper collection and try to come up with a plan on how to smash the entire 12 by 12 collection. All right, let's get started. Before I get to the making, I want to show you I used a Lori Whitlock file to make my first version of this. And people said, well, can you do it without the file? And yes, you can. Now, the Lori Whitlock file is going to, I'm just scrolling through trying to find it, looking at all the cool stuff, especially for Valentine's Day. The Lori Whitlock file would make a little bit smaller project. Instead of the pages being 4.5, I think the page would be 4 inches. Oh no, 3.5 and 5 1/4 wide. So I wanted to make something that would work better for me, and plus use the cardstock 5. So many fun mini albums. See that tiered bracket album? I've used that one before. That one works fun with Doodlebug. Okay, it's one of these. Just down a little bit further. It's not one of these numbers. There it is. It's that mini album with pockets. So I'll click on it just so you can see it a little bit better. So it's the same thing. I did not make that bracketed closure, and I put it in a mini album cover. But we're going to make it from scratch, so let's get started. All right, we're going to start with chipboard. We have 2 pieces that are 6 by 4.5, one piece that is 1 by 4.5. I've already added permanent double-sided adhesive to the backs of these, and I've gone through my scraps of cardstock and found some good-sized scraps. You want it to be about 5.5. So this is 6 inches by 8.5, which is fine. It's probably more than we need. You want it to be at least about 2 inches bigger. So this is 6 by 4.5, so you want it to be 8 by 6.5, or somewhere around there. All right, I'll put that down. Go ahead and glue the other piece on as well. And yeah, I know you've seen me before use different implements to make sure it stays straight on the paper. In this case, on the cardstock, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to take my bone folder and find the edge of the chipboard, and then I'll use the surface and fold and burnish for all 4 sides. So I'll do the tops and then the sides. So here we see squares, so you can see that it is, I'm going to cut off the rectangles on the corner. You can see that it's all covered, and we've got it burnished. I'll go about 1/8 of an inch away. I'll do it this way so you can see from the edge of the chipboard. Yes, there are tools to make this easier. I don't have any, so I just eyeball it. We'll do this one first. So I'm using my Designer Dries Clear adhesive from the Art Glitter Company. I will go along the edge of my chipboard and then around the perimeter, and then zigzag. Grab my bone folder and take this beveled edge and put it right up against the edge of the chipboard so it's at a right angle, and then I'll fold it over. And yeah, some glue is seeping out. I'll just wipe it off with my fingers. So there's 1, 3 more to go. After I do this, oops. Yes, you can use double-sided adhesive if you want to hold this down. We're going to cover this, of course, so you don't see the chipboard. And I know it's going to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. So I don't feel the need to do the double-sided adhesive, but it's not to say that I don't do it sometimes. And also, if you want to use the tape instead of the glue, you certainly can do that. So I push down those corners, and I'm going to take my adhesive, go again on the edge, and zigzag. Push this up with my bone folder, pull that down with my fingers, and burnish. And one more. So here, you can see this corner, just push it down, sort of down and in. Just one motion, down and in. And burnish and fold that over. So there's one. I'm going to do that with the other piece as well, but this one I will do in fast motion. Oh, by the way, I'm using regular 65-pound weight cardstock, just scraps that were in my stash. I did get the coordinating solids, and I could have used that, but I just felt like I wanted to save that in case I needed it, so I just used paper from my stash. Alright, so I am going to use paper that is 8.5 by 10 3/8. So I'm using 8.5 by 11. I just cut a little bit off of it. 8.5 by 10 3/8. I am going to score it at 5. Whoops, would help if I did it this way. And then I'm going to go over to 5 3/8. So I have another 5-inch section here. Now I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch and 4.5. So we'll do that with both of these. So we'll score it at 5 3/8, rotate it, score it at 1/2 inch, and at 5. Wait, 1/2 inch and 4.5. Did I do that right? Yes, 1/2 inch, 4.5. All right, let's fold and burnish on our score line. So let's start with the pink one because it's so pretty. I mean, they're all pretty. All right, and as normal, I can see there is about 1/8 of an inch gap, which means the paper was not square, which is not unusual. Sometimes you buy this more inexpensive cardstock, and it doesn't exactly measure 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to add glue to this 1/2 inch tab. I'm going to fold and burnish. So we'll distribute the glue. And then I'm going to take a little cutting pad. Obviously it's well used. And I'm going to just cut this right around the edge just to trim it down. So you won't need to do this if your paper is square. You could use a ruler if you want to, but I've got a nice edge here. I say that as I go wonky. Okay, so we have this piece. Now I'm going to take my ruler so that's 4 inches. I'm going to go down 1 inch from the top and make a dot. I'm going to center it on here, and 1 inch from the bottom and make a dot and center that on there. We'll just hold that for right now, and we'll do the other piece. So let's fold it. add glue. And fold and burnish. And to no one's surprise, this piece also needs to be trimmed down. Okay, and I'll do the same with this. We'll take our ruler and go 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom. All right, and then I'm going to grab my hole punch. And I'm using a small one. And I will punch a hole right where our line is, our dot. And this is a small one. This is a 1/8 hole punch. I'll do that with both of these. Okay, and then I'm going to get some brads and have this all ready. Okay, so for the spine piece, the spine again is 1 by 4.5. I have a piece that is 6.5 by 4. Since I didn't cover it all with the double-sided adhesive, I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to the edge. And then I'm going to put this down, centering it as best I can. So there we go. I'll burnish that and find the edge with my bone folder. And fold and burnish right up against the edge of that chipboard. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it, I'm not going to trim it, I'm going to add glue to this top portion. Add glue right next to the chipboard there and there. My glue is not coming out. Okay, and then I will take my bone folder and push it up against that chipboard and then fold it down, burnish it on the top of that chipboard, and then push right against the side of the chipboard and then fold this. So you see this comes down at an angle. So right up against the edge of the chipboard. And it's at an angle. So there is that one. We'll do the next one also. Put some glue right there. And burnish it. Burnish it on the chipboard. Go right up against the edge. Right up against the edge. Okay. Now just to make sure none of this shows, I'm going to put my scissors right up against the chipboard and trim off a little bit. Do it top and bottom. And there we go. All right, I'm going to take my bone folder and again find the edge of that chipboard. And I will add glue on this wing piece, being fairly generous because I want to make sure this stays put. And try to get a bead of glue about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And then I'll take my cardstock and go, or chipboard, go right up against it and push it right next to it and burnish. I'll turn this upside down and burnish it real well. Alright, we'll do the same with the cover, or the front cover, I should say. And go right up against the edge of that chipboard. Put this right next to it. Burnish it real well. Okay, now usually we cover the chipboard, but I'm not going to do that yet because we're going to cover it as we add our pages. So let's make the pages next. Okay, I'm going to make pieces to go on the spine that's going to hold the pages. So I want a piece of pattern paper. I thought this was pretty for the spine. And this is 3 inches wide. It could be 4, it could be 3.5, but 3 inches wide by 4 7/16. Since our book is 4.5, I want it just one smidgen smaller than that. So 4 7/16. Just that teeny line after 4. And then to strengthen it, and also so we can see exactly where we need to work, I have a piece of cardstock that is 4 7/16 by 1. I am going to take this and glue it on there. I'm going to glue it with the writing side down just so we don't see it. I just put that on there so I would remember to tell you what the measurement is. I'll turn this sideways. So just center this on here. And that is going to be the piece that goes right next to the spine. Okay, so we've got our pages, and I've gone ahead and folded and burnished them. When you fold it, make sure you've got the top lined up with the bottom. Meaning, so here it is, I want to burnish this, so I'm making sure the top and the bottom are lined up and I'll burnish. So do that. All right, so we're gonna sort of estimate, we're gonna look at this and see where it's going. Let me use the pink one so you can see. See where it's going to be on here. So there should be about 1/8 of an inch showing once you put this piece, and make sure it is centered top and bottom. Once you've got that, then open this up and carefully take your pencil and make a mark. So you see we've got the mark there. Got to double check and make sure that's nice and centered. Yeah. All right, I'm going to hold this down. Well, this one doesn't look that straight. Straighten that up. There, we're good. And then I'm going to take this piece. Oops, everything moved. And I'm going to fold it down. Hold everything straight, line this up with the, make sure it's the same height as the other piece, put it next to it, and then I can move this out of the way, and I will go ahead and make 2 more dots. Now they may not be lined up because we measured these. Then I'll take my hole punch and punch holes. Okay, So we've got our holes. I'm going to take double-sided tape now. If you need to, you can use more than one piece. I'm just going to make sure that it covers those holes, but it doesn't come to the very edge, so I'm going to trim it down. This will help strengthen everything and hold the brads in place. And now that I've done that, I have to find where my holes are and re-hole punch it. Okay. So now I'm going to take, I have 4 brads. Oh, you know what? Before I add the brads, I'm going to take some pattern paper and cover this, and then I'm going to have to punch it again. And you don't have to do this if you don't want. I just wanted to not have that much cardstock showing. So there's one. So this again is just a little bit smaller than the page. It's probably 4 and 3. I'll repunch this. All right. And then we'll find out put a brad in there. Brad here. Turning that over, and I'm gonna anchor those brads. I want the legs to go up and down so they don't go sideways. And I still have that double-sided adhesive. I'm going to pull that off in just a second. So there is one. Oops. And 2. Now you could use eyelets if you wanted to, but I'm just doing it with brads. Now I'll peel off this double-sided adhesive. And burnish these down again. So this time they'll stick to that double-sided adhesive. I'm going to add some glue around the perimeter, and then I'm going to put this down in the book. So I glue here and glue onto the wings. So of course what we're going to try to do is match up that pink part, which is going to be the cover. We want to make sure that that pink part matches with So make sure everything is centered. You want to make sure that pink part goes on your spine. Okay. All right. And there we have our pages in the book. There's a little wiggle to them. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue underneath and then burnish again. So here's something that would make it a little easier for me. I should have done this. So we put the pink paper on the other side of this. At that point I should have scored it so it would be easy for me to find exactly where this fit once I did that. So go ahead and score it before you start adding the holes and the pieces to it, just to make it easier once you get there. All right, so that's the basic construction of the album. Now all we need to do is decorate it. So you'll need to cut 4 pieces of cardstock, of pattern paper, 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. If you like the margins that I like really small, I think I'll try to find a cut apart to decorate the front. And then for the pages, you'll need 8 pieces that are 4 7/8 by 3 7/8. Is that right? 4 7/8, yeah, by 3 7/8. Now, of course, you can do pockets, you can do flaps, you can do extensions to the page, like a fold out. You could do a flip up. You could do lots of different things. And then to add paper inside, I'm going to cut more cardstock that is 4 7/8 by 3 7/8 and decorate it with pattern paper that is 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. So you'll need 4 of the larger pieces and then 8 to decorate that. And that'll actually give you a lot of room to put in photos. So let me show you what I've done. All right, so this is what I came up with. Let's take a walkthrough of it. So for the cover, I cut out one of these 4x4 journaling cards. I just cut around where it says love, added some stickers underneath, popped this up, added the border sticker there, and that just gives you a little bit of dimension and just a little oomph. There is the spine, and then there's the back cover. I just added this plain paper on the back. Inside, I took this paper. It actually was 1.5 inches longer, and I just scored it and glued it on and made what I call a cheater pocket. I just glued it on the top, put a hole in there, and added a 4x4 cut apart that I cut down a little bit just so it would fit nicely. So there is the inside front cover. For this page, I just added a sticker. Now all these pages, you can see, well actually this should go like this. All of these pages have little hidden photo mats in the pocket. So this is why I have pink, red, pink, red. These are, and I've changed the measurements of them because I made them a little bit longer. So it's 5 1/4 by 3 7/8. And then inside, you need this to be 5 1/8 by 3 3/4. And so I just put paper on the front and back, and that goes in the little pocket. So this page, I just have a sticker that's open there and a photo mat just made out of the paper. And here I left that open and just put a sticker there. Here I just took a plain paper and added a sticker on the corner. On this page, I made this just an inch longer and scored it and added this cut apart there just to add a little interest to that. And there is our photo mat. Here I've got the mailbox. It was on a 4x4 cut apart. I just fussy cut around it and added a couple of the stickers there and left it open so you can add a little tag on there. I added a little cheater pocket here. There is a tiny, like less than 1/8 strip of this pink paper. Oh, it's probably when I cut the paper down. And so I just added that to the top and made this a cheater pocket, added a sticker there, and put another tag in there. And there is our hidden photo mat. On the last page, I made another cheater pocket. This was a 4x6 cut apart. I just cut it down and took one of my remaining cut aparts. I have a couple more. Maybe I'll just add them to the pockets if I don't use them. And this again was a 4x4 cut apart I cut down. That was a sticker. I glued it, or I added it onto a piece of red cardstock and fussy cut around it to make it a duck spot. And I already showed that to you. So that is how I took a cut file, recreated it, and made a mini album out of it using a different kind of binding system. It really is just brads, just 2 brads holding this together. So I hope you like that. Let me show you though, before we go real quick, what I have in the way of scraps. So I do have a good amount of stickers. Now this sheet is again from Cartabella. It coordinates sort of. The colors aren't the same. We don't have the melon. And so this is all I have as far as scraps. I have a 4x4 cut apart, 3x4, 3x4, and 4x4. And these are all really thin scraps, no more than 2 inches wide. And then this is all I have of larger size scraps. Not very many. So I'm going to think about this for a little bit. Oh, there's a couple more cut aparts. And that's it. And of course I have some plain of the coordinating solid, so that might help me come up with something. So let me think on this and see what I can come up with as far as making something. Of course, again, I've got all of these, and they would make cute little cards and envelopes, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But I will let you know how I'm going to smash the rest of this and just show you what projects I can make using that paper collection. So that is what I wanted to show you today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit like on this video. Thanks again for watching. Have a fabulous day.